Welcome to this session. Hope this finds you well. So right now we are going to deal with some tables and graphics in Microsoft Word. So to create a table, we just come to insert, then we are going to define the properties for our table. For an example, we can define how many columns it should be. Then we can also define how many rows our table should be. So let's make, for an example, a 2 by 1 table. That is to mean there's got 2 columns and a single row. Then I'm going to click there. It should create it. Now we see it. If I want to, for an example, say adjust my rows, because the rows are the records, like the horizontal records. Then you've got columns which are going to be your fields, or wherever you've got your headings, for an example. So it defines your data vertically. So to increase our rows, we can just come here to the right side of the table, just click on enter, then you can add as many of them as you want. One other way of doing adjusting these things, you can just click on your table here on your upper right corner, upper left corner. Then you can pretty much come here and you can come to insert. For an example, if you want to insert when you want to insert, let's say for an example, you want to adjust your columns to be a bit many, you can just come here to insert and you say insert left or insert right. It just a matter of let's say for an example, insert right, you're going to have about 4 columns now. So basically it will just try to do it using proportionality. But what you want to do is, if you don't want this column, for an example, you can just highlight it, and you can just highlight even just a single cell here. Then after that, you can just come here to delete. Then after that, you can say delete columns. Then it will delete the whole column. If you want to delete the whole row, you will just come here to delete row. If you want to delete the whole table, you just come to delete table. I think this one is very clear. So now let's just give some headers. Let's say, for an example, accepting people's names in this table, and week one, something like that, maybe a salary, something like that. Let's say, for an example, we use this table to accept people, as names and their salaries, how much they get per week. And after that, maybe week 2 salary. Then after that, maybe we want to do what? We want to come to this part where we are trying to get the total salary that this person has earned. For an example, maybe our headers, we can just try to highlight them, then we can make them bold, all of them. Now, it's very cool dealing with tables. There are other important things. For an example, you can name this table 1, and so on and so forth, if you're going to have a lot of tables. And to name your tables some names, or to add captions to them, just click on your table here. Clicking on this, on the upper left corner here, you can pretty much just get to right click on your, you can also right click on your table. You can click here, you can right click on your table, then you can come here to insert caption. A caption is more like, you're trying to give your table some sort of a label together with a certain number. If you're going to have a lot of them. For an example, you see in books written something like table number 1 defines something like this, table number 2 something, or picture number 1. The very same way we do it to our tables, we do it also to pictures. You can just right click and you go to properties of your pictures, then you can insert a caption. Now here are basically like the default kind of captions. Like it gives you something like the first one is going to be table 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on and so forth. What if we did not want to define it using the word table? We want to use any kind of word that we want. For an example, we can call it payslip 1, 2, 3, 4. In order for us to add our own label, we basically can't add it here. You can't delete this thing or anything like that. You can come here with written new label, then you can click and you can say, for an example, payslip anything. Yeah, you can just define. You don't necessarily need to define the number. You just say payslip, the word that you want to give to your tables, and you say okay. Then after that, it will give you an automated kind of a thing. For example, it will say this is payslip 1. Then if you like, you can just get to come here and you say okay. Then you will see it's written here. This is whereby sometimes in books you can say payslip number 1 is a table that shows this and that and that and that. All right, so those are some of the cool features. You can also click on your tables, for an example, give them some sort of designs. You can click here on the table, you can come to design, and of course you can come here with written table design, and you can get to give it a lot of different colors. Maybe you can give it a green color, any sort of color that you want, maybe this kind of colors. Yeah. So one other thing is, to give your tables colors. What if I just want to give a color inside of this block only to shade the whole block only? I can right click, and after that I come here to this bucket. Then this is where I can give a single block a certain color. This is called a fill, so you can fill it with any color that you want. I think this one is very clear, so you can give it any color that you want. Let's give it maybe this one, this gray. So this is basically how you can deal with your tables, how you can maybe give some design to them, how you can maybe for professionality's sake, give them some captions. So what if now we want to say we've got somebody, their name is Mpo, for an example, and in week one they had 200, in the second week they had 300, and then we want to know the total. Basically, we say that we have got another person, let's call him Jack. Let's say Jack had 100 in the first week, then he had something like 50 maluti in the second one, and we want to give them their totals. Well, to give the totals, you can just think for yourself, say, okay, 200 plus 300 is something, this one plus this one is something. Maybe we are trying to pay these people, all of them, maybe using a single slip, something like that, because basically when you do pay slips, normally you're going to give each person their individual, but here I'm just making an example of whereby maybe we've got our own table as one table, we're giving everybody like, yeah. So basically, in order to do these things, we can either do it the hard way, which is saying, for an example, this one 500, this one 150, and so on and so forth. But Microsoft Word has got a very cool feature which allows us to use some sort of formulas or to use functions to automate um, the sum of these cells and give the total automatically on this side. So in order for us to do that, we can basically come here to the layout tab. After coming to the layout tab, we are dealing with the layout of our table. Now we can come here to layout on the right side of table design. After clicking there, this is whereby we've got a lot of additional features. We've got a lot of them. Now we go to the right side. Under this data group here, we can see something that is written formula. This is whereby we are going to get different formulas that can help us. We click on formula. After clicking on formula, automatically you're going to see this one that is written is equal to sum, something like that. When it says is equal to sum left, sum is a function that helps to do what? To add everything that you put inside of this parenthesis or inside of these brackets. So it's a bit different to in Microsoft Excel. So in Word, we just define the position of those columns that we are talking about. So if you say sum left, for an example, it's basically going to add all the things that are on the left side of this on the left side of this column of ours. If, for example, total was this side and week one and week two were that side, we say sum, then we write right in here, which is the position. So equals to sum left, that is very much correct. We want it to be like that. You just say okay. After that, you will see the total automatically generated. You can come here also, for an example, maybe you want to insert something like, yeah, basically, if you want to give your formula once again, maybe you can still do that. And you can just come here and you're going to say you want to sum things that are on the left side. So the very same thing is the very same way that you can pretty much try to define the whole thing that okay, I want to use this kind of formula like this. So we have got a lot of different formulas and stuff like that. So basically now you see like you've got maybe some above. You have to make sure that you don't say okay here because it will try to add this 500 to something that is on top of it. So you get to define the right position that no, the things that I want to sum are still on the left side. This is just to give you flexibility of defining the position of the things that you want to sum. To add together. So now we can have totals. I've just made an example using the sum function. So we've got a lot of functions in Microsoft Word, and in order for us to have access to all of them, maybe we can also even try to do what? We can also try to, like when you let's just come here on the layout, and when we have come here under our layout, let's make sure that we have selected our table. Then we come to layout so that you give us this kind of thing. Then we can just come here. Then of course we've got different things altogether. You can see the formulas that we have. We have average, we have sum or count. So basically, if we are going to say we want to use the average function, then we would still maybe try to use it too. Let's not use this one, sum. Let's say, what if we want to come to the next row now? We say, we want to say maybe total. Yes, so we want to get the total of these two that are above and total of these two that are above. Then what? No, let's get averages for example. Let's say we want to get average average salary e leng hore, like for an example, it was for these two people in week 1, and for these two for both of them in week 2 and week 3. So we are just going to come here and we just type the word average. Let's come here, we say equals to average. To define our functions, we can just get to do that. Then we open our parentheses. Then here we're going to say above. Then we are going to say enter. All right. If it doesn't do as we want, let's just click here. It should be doing what we want. Let's come here. Then let's come to the layout. Then let's try to do this. Then let's try to say equals to average. Let's type it here. Average above. Yes. Then we say okay. Then it will give us this. All right. Microsoft Excel, normally when you just do that, it just happens right away. So in order to do it in Word, you will basically need to come here to, like to your layout, to your table layout. Then you will come to formula. Then you will define the kind of function that you want to use. Then you will define also the position. So basically that's just the way it is. So I've just shown here how we use the average and there's some function. We've got different other ones, maybe count if and so on and so forth, but I'm just making basic examples here on what you can achieve. So I've shown how you, for an example, do some sort of captions and some designs. And let's say, for an example, one other thing that I need us to do is let's try to create another table somewhere here. And basically here we're going to deal with the cells, like we are going to try to show, like for an example, how we can manipulate our cells. These are our cells, this one and this one. What if we wanted to join them as one cell? For example, we just highlight them both. After that, what we can basically get to do is come here with certain merge cells. It will make this kind of a table for you. The very same thing applies. What if for an example, we have this kind of this cell too, but we want it to be double. We want it to be double. We want to multiply, like to be like maybe to have a line here in between. You can just pretty much just right click, and what you're going to do, you're not going to do anything, but you're going to click on split cells. And when you say you want to split cells, you're going to define how many subsections do you want, like of that cell. And you can say okay, for an example, you're going to have those things. So this is how we can get to merge and to split our cells when it comes to tables. I think as far as tables are concerned, there may be a lot of other things that we may deal with. For an example, the table borders and all that. If you want to define a border of a table, you just click here, and for an example, you can just right click, and then after that you come to you can come here right away here. This is where you deal with your borders, and you can define a border at the bottom, or it shouldn't be there, and so on and so forth. If you want to have a border outside, you don't want it, all those kind of things, you can pretty much get to say you want to deal with them. And you can also come here to the throw table if you want to add additional kind of styles. All right. Now let's move away from the part of this table. What if, for an example, I wanted to insert an image inside of a certain cell, like for an example, in this cell, I was just going to click inside of this cell. I come to insert, then I'm going to say picture, then I'm just going to come to this device, then I'm going to be able to insert any sort of picture that I want. For an example, I can click here and just insert the picture. Then after that, this is whereby I can, for an example, get to define it in this kind of way that maybe I can just stretch it a little bit and reduce it and so on and so forth. Still here, you can do a lot of things with pictures themselves. Like for an example, I can click on this picture. Sometimes I want it to have a border on the side. Sometimes I want to bevel it. To bevel it is more like, like using something like more like a chisel maybe on the sides of this thing, if I maybe define it that kind of way. But you're trying to, like deal with the edges and give them some style. You can click on any picture that you want to give it a lot of styles, and it's not the same as a table. When you click on a table, you see table design and stuff like that. But when you select on a picture, you'll always see something written picture format here. You can come here and you can define a lot of things. You can define a picture border if you want it to have some things on the side, like a line on the side, an outline on the side. For example, you can see maybe you can come for light blue, you can come for blue, purple, and so on and so forth. Let's say we want it to have maybe blue, then yeah, we'll basically just get to have that kind of line, that outline that surrounds it, that is a border. Then we can come to picture format once again to apply some effects. For an example, we can come to picture effects, and we've got different ones. Shadow, it will give you some shadows. Reflection, some reflection. Glow, it will make it glow, like your picture will be like it is emitting some light. And you can come also to this one, for an example, that is written bevel. Bevel is more like that place where we are dealing much with our edges, how we want to define them to be. So by default, it's got no bevel. You can come here, you see there's a round bevel. You see here, you've got relaxed, fixed. You've got different ones, cross, and it's a lot of bevels altogether. So if you define, for example, a round bevel, it will try to make some sort of curves, like if this thing were to be just that our picture, it's not like, for an example, a square or anything like that. You will see how the whole thing is like. But basically, you can do a lot of things with your pictures. So you just come to picture format, you can add some effects, and you can also deal with the picture layout also. So it's a lot of things that you can do. You can also give something that is called an alt text to a picture. You can just click it here. An alt text is more like, a message, an additional message to this picture. When somebody looks at the picture, the properties, they want to see the width of the picture and so on and so forth. And alt text gives you that kind of flexibility to say you want to add, maybe I will say this is access um, icon. I can, give it that kind of thing, and I just say generate alt text for me, for an example. Then after that, of course, I'll have my alt text. So that's just the way it is. Alternative text, this picture may have a certain name itself, but I may want it to give a text that still also defines or talks about it. So there's a lot of things we can do as far as these whole things are involved. But for now, for the sake of the length of this video, I would like to say thank you, but yeah, that's pretty much it in Microsoft Word. I know, like, we can come here to home, for an example. There's a lot of things that you can also define. For an example, watermarks. I think I almost forgot about that. We can come, for an example, to design, and we can add a watermark. Watermark is more like we'll be having a graphic, but a little bit more like with small opacity. It will not be too much clear. We can come here to watermark, and we can define it. For example, if we want to define the one that is written confidential, this is a diagonal text, we can just click on it and we can see something like this. So basically, it helps a lot, to get to bring a little bit kind of life to our Word documents. Also, one other thing, when we are still here, maybe let's come here to design tab. We want to change for an example, the background of our page. You can come here where it's written page color, then we can define any sort of color to our page. So basically, these are just some of, some basic things that we can do in Microsoft Word. So I hope this was helpful in some way, and in future we can just add even more knowledge to all these things that we have done here. I would like to say thank you.